say, I know I was in here before, Shane. I did see some of these paintings before, but god damn it, they really are beautiful. So how long have you been at this at the painting lark? Because I'm guessing some of these took a few years to
No.
put together. And
Well, they're old paintings.
right. Okay. So
These are old paintings.
And was this a teenage thing? Was it something that you got into when you were like a teenager, or was it later in life that you?
No.
So neither one of those.
We're all the family are quite.
Ah,
I
okay.
done this one about 3 years ago.
Right, okay.
And I topped it up a bit.
Ah, that's a beautiful.
And I brought the sugar loaf in oil, you know.
Yeah.
And a guard. It's in my own style now.
Right. Yeah,
This is not copied. This is out of my head.
Okay. Well,
This is out of my head.
Beautiful bit of work.
And as you see the strokes.
Yeah.
I have my own little style.
You were saying oil and acrylics you mix.
Oil and acrylics.
You know, different parts of the painting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that when you say the family, was there like a mom or a dad or a brother or sister who was particularly strong at it? Because this is genuinely.
Well, my brother Eamon is good at art.
Right.
And all his children are good at art.
And would they have done it at this level, like painting, framing, anything like that?
Well, on my father's side in Wexford, in Ladies Island,
right,
there's an artist down there called Clear, and he's quite established. He's done, if people remember the Christmas card of the lifeboat, that was one of his paintings.
Ah, and he's related to you?
He's elderly now.
Right.
He had a studio in Wexford and a studio in Wales. He'd be a man now in his 70s or 80s.
Right, okay.
They live in the Wexford side. That's on my father's side.
Right.
The Clear side.
So how often now would you paint? Because obviously it's something you can dip in and out of.
I only do it as a hobby. I only paint as a hobby.
Okay.
And I do it privately.
Right.
And as I say, this one here, that one is about 3 years old.
Okay.
And
that one I love. I don't. Do you give them names, or would that be?
Well, that was the Flowered and Garden by Van Gogh. That's in my style.
Yeah.
I done my style. And as I say, this one here now, this one here,
the sunflowers.
The sunflower, as one would observe it.
Right.
It's in my style.
Yeah.
That's my. It's abstract.
Van Gogh ripped you off, little bastard.
No, but
the gingers are always doing that.
And I'll explain it to you. Here on the left-hand side, I've done it in an abstract way.
Okay.
For the simple reason the flowers are gone off.
Oh yeah.
And the rest of the paint is kind of.
Right.
And it's in my own particular. It's abstract.
Yeah.
It's abstract.
So would you? I don't know if you went to classes or whether you were just inspired to.
Well, I took up a course 3 years ago, but it wasn't for me, you know.
Right.
And as I say, I just do it privately now.
Now you do have. I know that there's a few of your paintings in Dunleary, down in Arklow as well. You've got the Drummond trees.
There's one or two people who asked me.
Right.
And my niece, I done one of the.
Drummond trees, or like the Harmon's Hill?
Yeah, Harmon's Hill. That's hanging in Gorey.
Nice.
And then my other cousin in Dunleary, Michael Kine is his name. He's two of my paintings hanging.
Lovely. Oh, that's
private.
Sweet.
They're private.
Now, would you ever? I don't know. Would you ever consider a commission? Because I mean, these are beautiful. I don't know whether that would be something that you'd be ever tempted by. The idea that obviously people seeing this might think, "Ba-boom! I wouldn't mind a bit of Shay Clear on my wall."
Well, as I say, I have my own style, as you can see.
Well, that's the key to a good artist. Yeah.
It's very abstract.
Yeah.
I think the original of Van Gogh's now is in the museum in Holland.
Okay. Most likely. Yeah.
Van Gogh.
Now, so when you did say you do it for your, obviously just for your own pleasure and at your own pace, but would you say every 6 months you produce a painting, or does it go through spurts of you're active for a while and then you take a break for a few months, or?
As I say, these ones here are 3 years old.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how often you do this.
This was a little. I done that in an hour. Yeah. It's just brush stroke.
Yeah.
I was training. I'm trying to learn. You know.
Yeah.
It's called the boatman.
Nice. And with that again, now would that be imagination? Were you working on an image already that you had, or?
Well, I'd already worked on that on a first course about 3 years ago.
Right.
And I done my own little style. It's just trying to get little brush strokes together.
Yeah.
That was originally done in ink.
Nice.
By the artist.
Oh, okay.
That was actually done in ink.
Well, what I'm going to say to you is that we will let people, if they want to get in touch with the guide, we can pass on any information. I just think people are going to be stung by your work.
I do it as a hobby.
Right.
And
right.
it's just because I have.
But all art should be pleasure. It should come from that place.
Yeah. A hobby, and whatever the mood takes me, I might be in a mood. I'll sit down and. But as I say, this particular one and several others I've done are 3 years old. And this was an Irish cottage.
Yeah, I saw that in the background there. That's lovely. And what would be the most recent now? Have you painted lately?
That's about 3 years old.
Okay, so it seems like about 3 years ago you went mad, you know, because all the.
I laid up for a bit.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
I got a health scare, so I have to look after myself.
Ah, okay.
That's that's out of my head now, you know.
Right. That's brilliant. That's really great. It almost looks like the Sugarloaf behind it, but then you could be any mountain.
No, it's just mountain. Yeah. It's just.
Yeah.
I was learning in my own behalf brush strokes and colour.
Yeah.
There's a lot in art to learn.
I suppose that the one thing that you will say when it comes to landscapes and all that, you know, if you start painting landmarks, you know, that's a lucrative kind of area, because, you know, you do a painting of the old harbour, or you do a painting of, you know, kind of places that people knew growing up. That's when you know, the emotional heartstrings are involved and people want to have that on their wall. Yeah. So just in case you ever run low of money,
that's direct art. That's direct art.
Yeah.
That's impressionism. You're looking at what you're looking at, and you're drawing. Sure. You're doing what you're doing.
I suppose to wrap up now, would you have any favourite artists yourself? Because I don't know. There's a little bits of Van Gogh here, and there's I don't know whether Monet, people like that. Or...
I think Van Gogh was he was easy going.
Oh yeah, well he cut off his ear. He went a little mad. He was. Well, that's easy going too.
No, well I tell you what happened. Van Gogh was the history of Van Gogh. He fell in love with a girl he knew that worked in the brothels.
Right.
In a place called Arles in France, and he was staying in
Arles.
All
right, all or nothing.
Well, it was famous for its light. All the artists used to go there in France. But what happened was he knew this girl from Paris, and she used to work in the area, the red light district in Arles.
Right.
And what happened, he took a fancy to her, and she got bit by a dog. And the poison went through her, she nearly died.
Alright, like a rabies thing?
Yeah, right. She nearly died. And Van Gogh, the only way he could get through to her was he didn't have money, he didn't have art.
He gave her an ear?
He cut off his ear, and he presented the last known movements of Van Gogh in that area.
Right.
Was he had it in a package, and he handed the ear to the girl. So in other words, he wanted to suffer the same pain as she suffered, because he couldn't get through to her in a money way, and he couldn't get through to her. Was
Van Gogh French? He sounds very French to me now. All of a sudden,
I think she was from Paris. Okay. Yeah, well, there was an inner involvement of his love for her,
right,
and the deep love, but he couldn't give it to her money wise. Sure. And in the same year, he done 300 paintings that year, particular year. Have you
ever been that much in love, Shay? Would you ever cut off a
I'm
major?
Very lucky. I'm very private person. I'm very deeply private.
And you're very attached to your ears and your nose and your arms and your hands.
As I say, I got a health scare there, so I have to look after my health.
Sure. Well, I think one of the first rules of medical school is don't cut anything off unless you have to.
Yeah, well, it was all different rumours about the Van Gogh.
Yeah, I think there was fresh information about. There was a theory about exactly what went on there, just recently published.
Yeah.
Because you're always
BBC done a programme on it. Was very interesting. It was on for over an hour.
And would you rate any of the modern artists? I don't know whether Banksy would be a kick for you, or obviously that English set of Hearst and all those guys, or I don't know if there's any particular artist that you sort of admire for. Would you be a fan of Warhol and that whole kind of post taking the piss?
That's just straightforwardism. What happened to him is he's just working off direct painting.
Yeah, he's pop culture kind of aware, postmodern, all that thing of putting things in quotation marks.
70s and 80s in America.
It's like the art itself, the very nature of art it gets questioned.
What happens art is people trying to find their own particular character, or to do something. Now, for me, when I was in art school, I done a little bit. I done a sculpture of a mobile phone in clay with people crawling out of it,
Nice.
That means to say that the power of the new modern era is taken over, and people are crawling to technology, what I mean? And dependency on technology.
Right.
So there's I was trying to do it. I done that 3 years ago. I was just flew through it.
But it should be the expression of
don't-
it should be an expression of inner thought, inner kind of feelings should be expressed.
Well, I took a fancy to Van Gogh.
All right.
Because his movements and his history in the 18th century, 1846 or 18, he was born.
Right.
His father was a vicar.
Okay.
And he was the eldest of
That
6
explain
children.
the madness and the sexual
but he
frustration.
was penetrated by
Another
the
artist.
godly element.
Right.
And he couldn't understand. My particular and personal point of view of Van Gogh was, on a mental tune, he was basically, he couldn't understand if there is a God, and he understood the penetration of the Bible by his father.
Holy moly. What a night that was.
He was kind of frustrated mind-wise of how you could bring beauty to the planet and then the human being suffering. Because he went around the poor areas of Holland with the poor people, and then he went to Paris when he was 16, worked in a gallery with his brother. Then he went back to London. Then he came back to Holland, and when he was back in Holland, he walked the countryside, and he seen the power of the flowers and beauty which God created.
It's a bit like yourself, really, when you think about it.
Well, all art and all people have a gift of nature is very powerful.
Sure.
The power of nature and the beauty of it.
We should wrap up by saying you're talking about movements, and you're in your shower room, like, you know.
Well,
is this like the space and light? Is this like is it the best room for? I suppose
it's just
because you've got a window.
It's a private little my studio. So I have. But when the mood takes me,
sure.
If I get I've done several more than these now.
Sure,
Several
yeah, yeah.
But I give them away to my relations.
Okay.
And 1 or 2 people have one of my paintings.
I'm kind of related to you at this stage, really. I think we're
well,
brothers.
as I say, artists are very moody anyway.
Right,
but going back to the Van Gogh thing, I like Van Gogh for the simplicity. He has a movement with the brush and all.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to be a hit.
He has softness and colour and magic. Of course, the 18th century, in those times, you had no cameras or anything like that. So anything you observed. See, the thing about art is everyone can see something in front of them.
Right.
But the question is, can you use your hand to actually do what you're seeing?
Sure.
Or observing? So that
it's also
people
it's to capture the essence of, it's like you can hear something, but are you listening? There's something you can see, but you're not actually.
You're seeing.
You're watching, but you're not seeing what's there. Maybe
exactly, and you're taking. It's a mind game with artists. You're either. A lot of people will see things, observe beauty, but can they actually? You can do it with a camera. That's instant. You can take a snap, and that's there for life, or that's programmed. Yeah. But to actually get a brush and paint and actually do something with your hands, to have a contrast in your brain that you can do something. I might go on to do portraits after a bit.
Oh, nice, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
But as I say, I do it as a hobby.
Portraits are very difficult though, because so often people do a portrait, it looks like the person had a stroke. If you don't get it right, you can just get that, the one side of the face is a little bit too long, or
I studied the body. The body is, and as I say, Van Gogh done his own portrait.
Right.
But in his strokes, if you observe his portrait, he works with strokes coming out.
Sure.
They're lively.
Oh yeah.
So you're observing.
There's a vibrancy about his work.
Yeah,
even
there's vibrancy.
Even when it's a simple thing like a bedroom, you can still feel.
But you're observing his portrait, and yet again from the nose out, there's a movement.
Sure.
And it's giving you a sense
we look forward to that now. You let me know whenever if you get into the portrait area and you're happy with the painting.
Well, as I say, I do it privately, Paul.
Sure, sure.
And
I think most artists would feel that way about their work. They do it in their own space, in their own time, and afterwards the painting exists. And what happens to it then is entirely another thing. You can either hold on to it, or you can feel it deserves to be passed on.
You see, a lot of the artists in the earlier days, why they were mad and why they were driven mad, was because they used to have lead in the paint, the oils.
Okay.
And they'd lick their brush or to do something, and as they done that, the poison went in, so they went a bit abstract in the head.
Right.
That was going, but that happened to quite a few artists back in the early.
Have you ever used lead in your paintings, Shay?
Not quite. No, nothing of lead in my paintings. No, but
Is there any lead in your pencil?
as I say, I'm only learning. I'm
Sure.
I'm not. I
Sure, we're all learning all the
I
time.
sit privately, and when I feel like doing something, this is 3 years old. That one is 3 years old.
Yeah.
And my other one, I've done several others, but they're hanging privately,
Right.
and they're for people who I know who wanted
Well,
them. So
as I said, we'll keep obviously tabs with you whenever you kind of feel ready for the portrait thing. It'd be nice to sort of include it in this. We'll add it in later on. Could be a year away.
This particular painting I done here now, that's 3 years old, and as I say,
How old is that painting, by the way? You haven't told us yet.
I'd say it could be 3 years old.
3 years old. That's fascinating. I'm glad you told us yet.
But that's out of my
bollocks,
head. That's out of my head now, Paul.
Right.
That's not taken. It was. I looked up an old calendar and I seen a vision of the sugar loaf.
Right. So it's out of an old calendar rather than your head. You
No,
bollocks.
this is out of my head, and then
Right.
this foreground here.
Yeah.
I brought in the rock, and then I have little sheep here in several places.
Nice.
But it's done. This is done in oil, and it's done in acrylic.
Sweet.
So I've done 2 elements to that.
Right. How old is it?
I'd say it could be 3 years.
3 years old. Holy mackerel! I can't believe.